welcome back to the newsroom of BIXPO 2019. I'm Ji-hee Wan, and with me this afternoon is Marc Peters, CTO at IBM. Marc Peters, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much.
So is this your first time visiting Gwangju?
Oh, it's the first time for me to be in Korea at all, so very good opportunity.
So you might not have known this, but Gwangju is known as the City of Light, so sort of Korean version of Paris. So I think this is a really fitting venue for BIXPO. So that means this is your first BIXPO experience.
It is definitely, yes. It's not my first experience in this type of conference, but it's the first time with BIXPO, and it's a great experience, I think.
So, I mean, this is only the second day, and we have one more day to go. But so far, what has stood out the most impressive thing you have witnessed?
So I've had the opportunity to be at the Energy Leader Summit this morning, and being one of the speakers there on stage, and I found it an incredible energy being on stage on one side, but also within the participants and the audience. That's something I found very interesting and encouraging.
So considering your background in the energy space, I suppose you have attended many different expositions and also exhibitions in the industry. So what differentiates BIXPO?
So I think there are different set of differentiators. The first one is the size of BIXPO. It's attracting a lot of people across not only Asia Pacific but across the globe. And it's not only focusing on the energy transition but also on the digital transformation. So a good combination between IT technology and electric engineering technology.
I see. So obviously you said you attended the Energy Leaders Summit and you delivered a speech this morning on technology megatrends in energy.
Right.
So not all of our viewers had a pleasure of attending that presentation. So would you please summarize the content perhaps?
Yes, so summarizing the content is, first of all, let me start with the end. So the end of my message was data is oxygen. And oxygen in various meanings of the word. So oxygen for our planet, because we are talking about decarbonization, electrification, and digital transformation. But it's also oxygen for our energy and utility companies, because they need data to become more efficient and more customer focused. At the beginning of my talk, I raised a chart highlighting 6 dimensions that are focused around this transformation. The first one is around digital transformation. It's about decarbonization. It's about decentralization. It's about disruption. But it's also about things like democratization. And these dimensions are not only focused towards technology, but are also focused towards people and the processes. So it can look from a different flavor and perspective. And it's an important topic to be seen by our industry leaders, but also by the technology providers into the industry.
So I suppose you are focusing on the fact that we have to make data actionable in this energy space as well. Did I get that right?
Yes, actionable is a good term, but it's not only being actionable, but it's also about accelerating this action into something that becomes very tangible in terms of business value and business outcome. And acceleration means to be fast in trying out things, but also moving from trials and prototypes into productive environments.
Also, you used blockchain as one of the examples. So would you please elaborate on that, perhaps?
Yes, I can, but blockchain is only one of the technical enablers to make this happen. Blockchain is quite famous due to the cryptocurrency capabilities that we all know from Bitcoin, for example. But we see blockchain as an enabler for transparency on one side, but also for trust between new ecosystem partners. So it's going beyond the boundaries of your own organization today. It's involving other ecosystem partners, and blockchain provides a possibility for an auditable tracking of transactions between all these parties.
So as the CTO of IBM, what type of opportunities are you looking for at BIXPO 2019?
Yeah, so I'm the CTO of IBM for Energy, Environment and Utilities, just to be precise on what my role is. And I'm typically focusing on Europe.
Okay.
But for sure I'm connected with the global activities that we are doing. What I'm looking at BIXPO is mainly to understand what's going on in Asia Pacific on one side, understanding what a country like Korea is driving, and also what KEPCO is doing within that transformation. And the other part is for sure to do some networking and trying to reach out to some contacts I've not had before, making sure that I understand what their thinking is around transformation.
So as you know, the theme of BIXPO 2019 is digital platform, and everything is sort of being migrated onto the digital platform. So how has that unfolded in Germany?
So I think it's starting, and we see, especially from the energy retail perspective, that digital platforms become kind of ubiquitous everywhere. We see it less happen from the grid side, because the grid side is more regulated, and there is no enough drive to go into a digital platform yet, because the regulator is not compensating the efforts in digital technologies. But we see that changing in the regulatory framework, so every grid operator will have to move into more platform-oriented business in the future. Although from my perspective as CTO for that industry, it's not just stopping by thinking around a digital platform, but it's going beyond that, thinking what we say, what we name it like a cognitive enterprise. So it's taking all the different bits and pieces of a digital platform and moving it into something that can really grow, accelerate, and have a measurable impact beyond the small digital platform projects that are typically engaged right now.
I guess to do so, I think it is important for us to ensure that all key stakeholders are on the exact same page. So how do you suggest that we ensure that? Key stakeholders like regulators, policymakers, and utility operators and consumers, and etc.
Yeah, so we all know that working with a regulator, it's time-consuming, and it may not end up in something that we really can implement in a short term of time. So part of what we have to do is certainly present and position new technologies to make the transformation happen. On the other side, it's also looking at the areas where the regulator has less impact or less influence, and that's, for example, in the energy efficiency beyond the meter, and driving the transformation from another entry point.
On that note, as we usher in this era of digital transformation, everything is sort of being hyper-connected. So do you think BIXPO 2019 fairly and sufficiently represents the hyper-connected society we are living in today?
So yes and no. So I think from an energy perspective, I fully agree on what you say. And I think it's a good opportunity. What I have not yet seen is the interconnection with the other industries. So we are talking a lot about decarbonization and electric mobility, for example. I would have expected, but I have not had the time to walk around all the expositions till now, to see much more cross-industry aspects represented here, in addition to all the energy-related capabilities.
So I suppose digital transformation, in a way, is market transformation. And on that note, there are some people who are out there who just contend that, oh, you know what, we can just go off-grid now. So why do we have to make all this humongous investment in the infrastructure and transmission system, etc.? So what would you say to those people?
So what I would say is that there will be areas where off-grid might be an option. And there will be huge other areas where off-grid is not really a viable option. So that's something that will be defined by different countries or regions within countries, and also within the reliability expectations that you have towards the energy that you receive. And we are often talking about electricity, but it's not only about electricity, it's also about gas, and it's about other forms of energy, and other energy networks that we are talking about.
I see. So
maybe to add on to that one, in the dimensions I was talking about the democratization. So democratization also means that there will be new players coming up in this energy landscape. So it could be you and me being a much stronger partner in an energy landscape. And depending on that, we could have ambitions to be off-grid or in a separated island mode for some time at least. But often this still requires a kind of insurance to the grid. And we may be willing to pay an insurance price for having a possibility to reconnect to the grid at a certain point in time.
So I suppose regulators and policymakers are in a sticky position because our energy consumers are being more and more picky and difficult to satisfy, because they want comfort, they want convenience, they want cost effectiveness, and they want control. So I guess we still have a long way to go.
It depends on what you mean by a long way. So I think we have already done a great step forward. And my impression is really that long way becomes shorter and shorter and shorter. So if we think a long way is 5 years from now, For a lot of things, it could be even shorter.
I see, interesting. So the global energy industry is going through a mega shift at the moment. So what type of energy paradigm shift have you witnessed in Germany?
So, especially in Germany, the paradigm shift was going from large-scale coal-fired or lignite-fired power plants into renewable energy power plants. And especially in Germany, wind is a huge topic, but also solar. And private solar rooftop is growing and growing. So for the moment, there are more than 1.5 million private households having their own generation unit on the rooftop. And there are days of the year where there is more energy produced by renewable energy than there is consumed at that point in time. So that's a huge paradigm shift already. On the other side, if we go away from the electric technology into more the IT technology, we see something coming up like solar cloud. This is a virtual cloud where you count the amount of energy that you feed into a network, and where you have a kind of virtual battery storage where you can get electricity back when you don't have enough generated by yourself. But this is just a balancing mechanism. It's not a real cloud environment that you have. And then the other shift is really figuring out from the IT perspective how to better use artificial intelligence, for example, to overcome the challenges of volatility in the network.
So in terms of renewable energy and environmental sustainability, everybody loves those buzzwords. But I personally think there is a humongous say-do gap, so to speak. So how can we sort of bridge the gap and accelerate that effort?
So if I understand your question right, I would say that education is a possibility to make sure that everyone understands what's happening if we don't go that route. Then the other way is to understand how to best position these renewable energy plants. So if you take a huge wind turbine, you don't want to have that in your garden just in front of your door. But if no one wants to have this in front of the households, then we will have not enough of them everywhere.
Right.
So it's a question of what you give and what you get back. And there will probably new technologies coming up, including hydrogen, for example, that provide new opportunities to the energy producer, to the grid operator, and to the customer at the end.
And also, I guess, regulators and policymakers have to understand that climate change is a fact. And it is here, and they need to do something about it ASAP.
So I think in Europe, at least, we have the lucky situation that the policymakers understand what the impact is, and that the laws are currently put in place to overcome this challenge and to prepare the citizens on one side, but also the economy on the other side, to be ready for change.
So you must be slightly concerned about what is going on in the United States on that note.
So what I cannot understand is that people ignore that there is a change, and that counts for the US, and that might also count for other countries. Yeah.
I see. So before we conclude this interview, do you have any thoughts or comments you would like to share with our viewers?
Yes. So what I would like to share is that don't be afraid of the transformation. Look at what's coming. As I said this morning in the Energy Leaders Summit, it's about data on one side, but it's also about the applicability of data using artificial intelligence. And there we are talking about ethics and trust and transparency. I'm convinced that this type of technology will be ubiquitous for all of us in all the things that we are doing, and this will also accelerate. And we should be ready to be open for the transformation.
Lovely. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having the opportunity. Thank you.
And thank you for watching.